Now this depends now on personality. How tight do you want that to be? Do you want that nice lovely seal, or do you want it to come on and off easily? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take off just a little bit more and make it a little bit more easy. What we do recommend is you put a bit of wax on the inside there if you want them to be loose, you know. Or you can always pack it if you wanted, you know, you wanted it to be a bit tighter. You could always say glue just a little bit of felt on the inside, you know, a little bit like they do on the joints of flutes, etc. I'm sure that kind of thing would have gone on, because wood will change its consistency, as I've already said, over time. So there you go, spinning nicely. I'm going to leave that at that. I think that's nice. I'm happy enough with that, and I don't think that is going to split. Don't forget, this is going to be reinforced. It's going to be soaked in linseed oil 3 times. That will give it some strength as well. Like, it will sort of glue those fibres together and give that some strength. So that's a nice little fit there. Okay, so what I've got to do now is I've got to take these parts down here now to shape the rest of the bottle, and then the job's are good. And so I can put that now on one side, but what I will need to do is bring that back at some point, because what I'm going to do is level this here, bring it down to the level of that there. So what I'm going to do is just a couple of millimetres just above that point there, take this down. So anyway, once I've done that, I will, oh, what am I doing? What? Okay, I've just bobbed a little bit more wax in there. Just so it spins nice and easily in there. I don't want any resistance on here, you see. I don't want anything that's going to slow it down. You know, he's not as young as he used to be, you know, so I conserve a little bit of energy. So there we go. So it's spinning nicely. So let's bring that round. You can see why in a period I thought, well, what's the point in a revolving centre? I'm not sure how difficult it would be to do, actually, or easy, but I can see why they thought they don't need that, really. It's an unnecessary luxury, is that? So let's just take this down a little bit. So I can get my parting tool on there, because I raised it up, if you remember, for the scraper. Right, okay, let's take this down. I'm going to spin this a bit. Let's get a little bit of speed on that, because what I don't need now is power. What I need is scraping speed. So what I'm doing now is I'm not even using my leg now, really. Just a little bit, my knee is moving just a little bit there, really. What I'm doing here, just getting it down there to the level that I'm going to want it to be at, and I'm scraping it down that, really. This is a parting tool, but okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using now my heel action. Is it heel or ankle action? Is that right? Heel, ankle. What I'm doing there really is I'm flicking this treadle down, so it's spinning at high speed, and I've got that iron wheel flying around there. I don't know how many revs I'm doing. I've never actually tried it. I've got an exercise bicycle behind me. I could actually put the revs per minute indicator on there just to find out. But if this lathe goes at a normal, say, 350, 400, I would say that it's possibly feasible. Maybe there are some physics experts out there, levers and everything, will have an idea, but it wouldn't surprise me if I'm getting 1,000 revs out of this, you know. It wouldn't surprise me. Okay. Right, you see I'm sort of approaching the level there now that I need to be in order to match up now nicely with that lid when the lid goes on there. So let's just have a look and see how far away we are. We're probably a little bit on the outside of it, but that's not a problem. Let's get the lid over here, have a look at that. Whoops, that's falling out for me. That was nice, wasn't it? So it looked like I'd planned that, didn't it? So I just put that on there. Just see that. You see that's very, very close, for like a fraction of a millimetre from getting that to exactly what that is, and that's what we're looking for, really. So if I just take my scraper now, I don't really need to be turning that at all. I hope I've got enough on this now, really, to just be able to scrape off that little bit without having to have any support at the other end. So we shall see. So let's just put that there. Right, okay, and you can tell how much breath that's taking out of me, can't you? That just turning it at speed there. Okay, this is where I'm using my scraper now, of course, again for much the same reason. It's a much finer cut that I'm going for here now, having got it down to roughly what I want with my parting tool. So I'm just taking that down to now where I think that edge is going to be, where it meets the lid there. So, okay, just where are we? There's a lot coming off at the back and not a lot coming off at the front here at the moment. So That's it, it's just started to come at the front there now, so just a little bit more. What I like to do, it's not necessary, they weren't done very accurately, the ones that I've seen anyway, but I like to have mine looking good, you know, because I've spent a bit of time on this, so I'll put that last little bit of effort in there as well. So let me just see now if that lid now fits. Oh, look at that, that's almost spot on. An absolute fraction. I think you could probably get a hair on the end of that. No, I'm not talking about a rabbit, so here we go. I'll just take that down just a little bit. Just an absolute fraction there, really, of a millimetre. Now, I think I might have that now. Just have a look at that. Notice this rubbing as well on here now. That's going. Now I still need a little bit more. Come on, come round, come round. That's it. Good lad, good lad. That's me waiting for that wheel to come round again. Okay. So that I don't have to restart it with my hand. You see, I can just pick it up again as it's moving. So, right. Oh, I think that's looking good, isn't it? I think that's looking good. Now then. Oh, do you know? I'm going to settle for that. I am going to settle for that. Nobody's ever going to feel down there anyway. It's not something actually. No, actually, I'm not happy. I'm going to take just a fraction more off that. Actually, just a fraction more. I'm not. Nobody's ever going to feel down there, like I say, because the strings go along it. You pick it up from the lid. You push it up from the lid to take the lid off. So you know that collar that's on the lid there. So you never really feel this, but it's just nice to have it right, isn't it? That's the thing. I think anyway. Just get it. It's a bit aesthetic, isn't it? You know, to have the wood match perfectly. So the ideal thing, with it being the same wood as well, is that it actually looks as though it's all one piece. You know, so you're not actually. Why isn't that doing anything? Come on, where are you? Just that little fraction there. There we go. That should do it now. Let's just try that now. Come on. No. I'll tell you what, that is as near as damn it, really, as we would say here. There's a slightly different colour in the wood, as of course you can see. Now, they were taken from two separate pieces. They're both beech. Well, maybe you see how dark that is and how light that is. This has only just been turned. This was turned earlier today, a couple of hours ago. I know it seems to you it was only like a few minutes ago, probably. But it was only very recently. I'm going to leave that. I like it to feel nice and smooth down there, and it's not quite nice and smooth down there. But I'm going to settle for that. I will settle for that. And I'll just see if I can take that down now. So this is the easy bit now, really, as far as I'm concerned. I'll just get my calipers over here, and then what I'll do is I'm going to measure that collar and measure this side here and get the whole thing into shape. So, right. Okay, well this collar here is should be 36mm. It started from a 38 piece of wood, so I've only got a couple of mil to take off there anyway. So what I need to do is just take that down now to 36mm. So I've got that down to there, and that bit's done, and then I can move on to the rest. So we're not far away now, folks. I think you've probably got the idea now of what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it. The main reason why I wanted to demonstrate all of this was so that you could see how I think on the basis of what I've seen so far at the Leeds Armouries. And I've looked at, I think it's 5 sets I've looked at there now that you can see there. This is how I think these would have been made. I honestly don't think there's any reason to use a pole lathe on something like this. It'll take twice as long because you've got an alternating turn on it. The turners' workshops that I've seen had wheels in them, whether they were great wheels for people to run from the back, you know, for making big bed balusters and things, or anyway, large turning works. So I honestly don't think that something as small as this, and Moxon does say for small works the treadle should be used. So I honestly think really these should be used, and I have seen a picture of a treadle lathe very similar to this, actually, not too dissimilar at all, in an armoury. I think it was somewhere in Holland, certainly somewhere in Europe. I know we're supposed to be in Europe, being Britain here. We do tend to see ourselves as a separate island still. But I have seen one actually in an armoury. Now, whether it was there when it was first done, I'm really not too sure, when they were made. But you can imagine in the armoury these being made, can't you? So, in this way. Right, okay, people coming back. You can imagine what the turner was doing. Broken bottle. Right, well this is just you can see how I've done all the shaping on there now. I've sharpened up my skew a bit, that's what the break's been there. You can hardly see anything coming off there, can you really? Just ever such small shavings. The idea of the skew, of course, is that you put it on top of the work there. Well, you can do it in all sorts of different ways, but just put it on top there, run it along. It's a difficult thing to manage on a treadle lathe, you know, because you're bouncing the treadle lathe up and down all over the place. So it gives you a nice smooth sort of look to that. You just stop that now. It's like a sandpaper sort of finish to that, you know, so that's perfectly acceptable. I'm not going to do any more than that on there. Okay, you see, I haven't shown all this shaping out because you've seen that on the lid anyway. It's basically the same thing. You saw this being done and this being done. All I've done really is done the same thing, parted it down there, got it down to where I want it to be by parting it in steps and then just skewed it all down. Basically, that's all that is. Now, what I'm going to do now is just part the end off there. I'm not going to part it all the way down. I could do. But I noticed they were sawn, you know, the ones that I saw at Leeds Armouries. So I tend to just sort of part them down a bit because that's the way that I do it. And then what I'll do is I'll saw it off. Actually, what I should do is drop that down a little bit. I've had that up while I did my sharpening, you see. So I like to keep the pressure off the leather strap, but I'm not using this. I've also lost my little thing in there as well, by the way. I've been looking around for it. Oh, I've obviously knocked it off, but I'm sure it'll turn up somewhere. Or, of course, I can always turn another one, can't I? Okay. I took a little bit more off the end there than I needed to do, so that I could get in here so my parting tool wouldn't rub against that side there. You remember, we've hollowed this out quite deeply. We've gone down the full 4 inches, and also I think I could do lowering this a bit more actually. Well, let's see how we go. Let's take a bit more of this out of the way. See, there are diamond parters that you can get, so they won't rub along the side there as well, but I haven't got one of those. So it does create a bit of friction. I haven't seen any like that in any of the drawings either really, so I don't feel as though I need to have one of those. What I'm doing actually is just pushing up slightly against the bottom of the bottle, so I'm getting a bit of a smoothing action as well against that bottom, so I get a nice smooth finish as well. Now I'm not going to take that all the way down. I did in the early stages, you know, but you know, when I was first making bottles, I've made hundreds of these now. If you take that little nib off there, what happens is the resistance inside there is so high that it'll rip out a core from the bottom of that bottle instead of coming off, which is very, very depressing. I've lost quite a few bottles doing that, so I'm just going to get the saw and cut that one off, and then I'll just file down the end of that and then show you what I'm going to do to get that shape there on the lid. So, right, I tend to turn it round there like that, so I'm breaking the fibres all the way round, so that when I get to the bottom of it, it'll just cut straight through instead of ripping any fibres there. So this saw could definitely do with, I'm going to say sharpening, but it needs a new blade in it, doesn't it really? Crikey, that took a long time, didn't it, to saw that through. See that there? Now I've just got a little bit of a nib on there. What I'm going to do is just take that off with my my knife. You can see I've got a bit of a mark across there as well. That mark there. That's going to come off when I file it. Shame that I've left that on there, but I will file that off there. Because I did mention Tony Marples, didn't I, from Marples Tools. He's made some nice little templates for me. He does a lot of work in brass. So he's made one of those for me. See how that fits rather nicely on there. So what I'm going to do is just mark this collar out, and then what I'm going to do is saw it down. So just fit this. I've made this one so it sits in the, you see, it's sort of roughly the shape that I need for the bottle to go into there. So it means it doesn't get sort of damaged by the vice here when it goes in. So if I pop those on there, you see, just angle that and then slot my bottle in there, just like that, you see. Creates a nice little vice for me. So, and of course the nails stop it from slipping down. It's not something I've seen anywhere, it's just something that I've created really, I suppose, because it does the job. So what I'm going to do now with that is just mark that round with a pencil, just round there like that. Okay, and then round this side as well here. And then the job then is to saw that off, but I have another one, that's this one here as well. So with that one there, place that one on there, and do the exact same thing on there as well, as you can imagine. Okay, so that gives me my shape. So I've got a regular shape, well, virtually a regular shape for all the ones that I'm going to do. So my job now, of course, is to take my saw again, and I shall be sawing down there, and then once I've sawn down there, I'll get my file and run it round nice and smooth.